You wake up in a cramped wooden structure. The ceiling beams are low and blackened with smoke. Your lungs feel tight and your throat dry. There is no mattress beneath you. Only a sack stuffed with straw, alive with the rustling of insects. It takes you several seconds to realize this isn't a nightmare. The air is thick with the stench of unwashed bodies, damp hay, and the unmistakable bitterness of human waste. A pig grunts beside you in the corner, its pen made from rotting wood. You sit up, your body aching from the chill and the stiffness of the floor. Outside, a grey light filters through a slit in the wall, barely illuminating the interior. Welcome to the year 1865 AD. You step outside barefoot. Mud sucks at your toes. The village is still half asleep, though a few figures move in the mist. Stooped women dragging buckets, children shivering and coughing. The scent of wood smoke clings to the cold air. You look down at your clothes. Itchy wool, coarse and damp from the previous day's rain. There are no undergarments. Your skin is already irritated, and your body hasn't adjusted to the constant presence of lice. You scratch, wincing, and realize you've broken the skin. Hunger bites at your belly, but breakfast isn't guaranteed. There is no granola, no eggs sizzling in butter. Food is dependent on yesterday's hunt, the unpredictable harvest, and what the lord of the manor allows his peasants to keep. A young boy, no older than 6, walks past gnawing a piece of dry, blackened bread. You ask for some. He stares, says nothing, and walks on. You look around. The village consists of fewer than 30 dwellings, haphazardly arranged, many leaning with age and rot. There's no road, just a muddy path that threads between them, littered with refuse. You can smell the latrine trenches dug out nearby. Most people defecate in pits behind their homes, but others simply go where they please, and waste mixes with the runoff when it rains. You start to understand why illness is always lurking. A bell rings from the church, the single stone building in the area. Its roof leaks, but it's still the center of everything. Religion governs every hour, every deed, every punishment. You head toward it shivering. Inside, a few villagers kneel before a crude altar. The priest mutters in Latin, a language no one else understands, but everyone fears. He speaks of hellfire, of sins that go unseen. You don't understand all the words, but the tone leaves you cold. You remember, even a question, even a whisper of doubt can earn you accusations of heresy. And heresy means death. You're handed a task to collect firewood. You try to protest. You're not dressed for it, and your feet are bare. But the villager stares at you like you're mad. You'll freeze before Vespers, he says. No fire, no life. He thrusts a dull axe into your hands, and you trudge toward the edge of the forest. The woods are silent, save for the cawing of crows. There's something unsettling about the silence. The trees seem older, darker, as if they watch you. Every crack of a twig makes your heart leap. You remember stories. Wild wolves, pagan spirits, thieves that slit your throat and vanish into the green. You move quickly, gathering dead branches, your fingers numb and trembling. On your way back, you encounter a rider, a nobleman, judging by the fine leather of his cloak and the horse beneath him. You step aside, avoiding eye contact, but it's too late. His eyes narrow. He sees you're unfamiliar, strange in your manner, your speech, your very presence. He accuses you of being a vagrant, or worse, a spy. You stammer a denial, but your accent, your inability to name the village's patron saint, your ignorance of local customs, it all damns you. His men dismount. You're seized. You're dragged to the manor house, a squat stone fortress half covered in moss. Inside, the noble lords over a small court of retainers. He's not interested in truth. He's interested in order. He cannot afford disobedience or disruption. Not in these unstable times, with Viking raids rumored just over the hills. You're thrown into a cold, damp cell, where straw mats barely keep you off the stone. Rats scurry over your legs in the dark. No one explains what will happen to you. You spend the night praying to gods you barely believe in. Your stomach gnaws itself empty. A man in the neighboring cell coughs constantly. Deep, wet, sick. You inch away, but there's no escape. Disease is everywhere. Later, they tell you he died of the black bile. You realize you're coughing too. The next morning, a priest visits. He asks no questions. Instead, he sprinkles you with water and marks your forehead. You're told a trial will be held. You beg, insist you've done nothing. But it doesn't matter. Trial by ordeal awaits. They'll drop a stone into a boiling cauldron and have you retrieve it. If your hand heals cleanly, you're innocent. If it festers, you're guilty. But you've seen the filth. You know infection is near guaranteed. The gods come. They hold you down. You scream as your hand plunges into scalding water. The pain is beyond anything you've imagined. Your skin bubbles, your vision blurs. The crowd stares, indifferent. This is entertainment. Justice. You're left in the dirt, trembling. The wound turns red, then black. Fever follows. You vomit, shake, lose track of time. Days pass. No doctor comes. There's no medicine, no hygiene, just superstition and herbs. They rub moldy bread on your wound. They chant prayers. Nothing helps. You die on the 4th day. But really, you were never meant to last even 24 hours. Story 2. The first thing you feel is cold. Not the cold of a winter's day with scarves and radiators waiting indoors, but a cold that reaches deep into your bones. Raw, relentless, ancient. You blink and darkness greets you. You're in a stone room. The only light coming from a crack beneath a heavy wooden door. You're lying on straw, and the scent tells you it's been used. By animals, by people. It doesn't matter. You sit up, your joints stiff, your head pounding. Your mouth tastes of iron and filth. You don't remember how you got here. But as you stand, unsteady, and push open the door, you realize you're in a castle, or what passes for one in the year 1123. Thick stone walls rise around you, cold and damp. There's no glass in the windows, only slits for archers. You step into a hall where torches gutter and spit. The floor is dirt, packed hard by hundreds of boots. You're in the domain of a minor baron, whose lands stretch over a few manors and forests, but whose power over the people is absolute. You have no name, no coin, no title. You're assumed to be a servant, or worse, a peasant who wandered in from the storm. No one asks. They simply hand you a pail and send you toward the kitchens. The kitchens are hell. An enormous fireplace roars, yet somehow does not warm the room. The heat is swallowed by the damp. Women move with precision, chopping turnips, gutting fish, stirring vast cauldrons of pottage. You are given the task of scalding hog bristles from a fresh-killed pig. The smell of blood, hair, and smoke makes you gag. A woman smacks your shoulder with a wooden spoon. Stop gawking. The pig's eyes stare blankly as you work, and you realize this creature was better fed than most of the people here. You look around. The servants are gaunt, hollow-eyed, missing teeth. Some are children, no older than 10. Their hands scarred and hardened. One girl carries a pot so large she stumbles, spilling broth. A cook grabs her by the hair and slaps her hard. No one reacts. This is normal. Later, you're ordered to fetch water from the well. It's in the outer yard. You step outside into the open and immediately feel exposed. Guards patrol the battlements above. Beyond the stone walls, a village huddles in the shadow of the castle. Smoke rises from thatch roofs. Fields stretch beyond, but they are empty now. It is winter, and nothing grows. The well is far. The bucket is heavy. As you carry it back, you slip in the muck and spill half its contents. You expect a scolding. What you get is worse. A steward sees you and demands your name. You hesitate. That's a mistake. He accuses you of theft, of sneaking into the castle to steal food or spread disease. You try to speak, to explain, but your modern words falter. You don't know the dialects, the customs, the right way to bow. He spits and orders you thrown in the stocks. They bind your wrists and ankles in rough iron and leave you in the yard, where villagers pass and mock you. A boy throws a rotten apple. A woman spits on the ground before you. You realize the stocks are more than punishment. They're a public purge, a ritual of humiliation. You can't move, can't scratch the fleas crawling on your neck. Hours pass, your knees ache. The cold deepens. That night they release you, not from mercy. Someone else needs the stocks. You're dragged back inside and thrown into a sleeping chamber, shared by a dozen other servants. There are no beds, only straw lice and bodies. Someone is coughing violently in the corner. You turn away, only to face someone relieving themselves in a chamber pot beside your face. You wake to screaming. A soldier has returned from patrol with a gangrenous leg. His screams echo through the halls. The priest is called, not a physician. They believe his illness is punishment for sin, or perhaps witchcraft. You're ordered to help restrain him while they attempt to drain the wound. You see the leg black, oozing, crawling with flies. A red line runs up his thigh. They use a hot iron to cauterize the wound. The smell of burning flesh makes you retch. The man dies anyway. They cover his body with a cloth, mutter prayers, and prepare to burn the linens. You ask if anyone else might fall sick. They laugh. We all will, one says. We always do. Later, you're summoned to the great hall. The Baron himself wishes to inspect his servants. You stand in a line, trembling, as he walks past. His fur cloak trails behind him. His eyes linger on you. Strange face, he mutters. His steward agrees. Maybe a leper, my lord. Or from the eastern marshes. That's all it takes. You are seized, hauled to a cellar. There, two monks question you. They ask if you've seen demons, if you've heard voices, if you consort with spirits in the woods. You deny it, of course, but your accent damns you. Your confusion damns you. The fact that you don't understand Latin damns you. You are accused of heresy, witchcraft. They take you to a river. Your hands are bound. You're pushed into the freezing water. If you float, you're a witch. If you sink, you're innocent, but likely dead. You scream as the water closes over your head. You flail, sink, choke. Hands haul you out, blue-lipped, trembling, coughing. You lived, but that's not good. It means you're guilty. By dusk, a pyre is built, but you don't burn. Not yet. You escape barely. A stable boy, pitying your cries, cuts your ropes. You flee into the forest, barefoot, gasping. The cold gnaws at your skin. The snow cuts your soles. You run until your lungs bleed. You spend the night in a hollow tree. Wolves howl in the distance. Your hands are too numb to feel. Your wound from the fall festers. Infection sets in. By morning, your breath comes shallow. You don't survive the day. You weren't built for this world. Story 3. You wake up to the sound of a rooster crowing. But it isn't the pleasant, nostalgic sound you've heard in movies or farm visits. It's shrill, insistent, and too close. When you sit up, you're on a straw-stuffed sack. Your back already damp from the night's chill. The air smells of sour milk, dung, and smoke. Your nose is cold. Your breath fogs. You're in a timber longhouse, low-ceilinged, with only a hole in the roof to let out the smoke from a central fire pit. The year is roughly 876 AD, and you're in a village deep in the Anglo-Saxon countryside. Chickens roam freely inside the house. A goat chews on a dirty tunic in the corner. A woman, stooped, sunken-eyed, moves past you without a word. She ladles something thick into a wooden bowl from a blackened pot over the fire. It's breakfast, barley gruel, grayish and watery, barely salted. You eat with your fingers, scooping up what you can. There are no spoons for strangers. The man of the house grunts at you, pointing toward the door. Outside, the village stirs. There are fewer than 20 dwellings here. All small, all built from timber and mud, with thatched roofs patched with straw and moss. Livestock wander between them. Children chase pigs with sticks, barefoot in the mud. Your role is unclear, but you're given a task without discussion. Gather firewood from the edge of the forest. It seems simple, until you realize the trees are nearly an hour's walk away. You set out with a bundle of sticks already tied across your shoulders. The ground is wet. Your shoes, little more than leather wraps, absorb the cold. Your feet go numb. You pass through narrow, muddy paths, carved into the earth by years of foot traffic and carts. There are no paved roads, only trails. Occasionally, another villager nods at you, though no one smiles. They look weathered, all of them. Even the young have lines etched by labor and worry. At the forest's edge, you gather dry branches, careful to avoid those claimed by others. Every stick has value. You hear wolves howl in the distance, an ever-present threat. You keep your head down and move fast. By the time you return, the sun is high. You're sweating, despite the cold, and your hands are red and raw. Back in the village, the wood is taken without thanks. You're handed a dull iron hoe and led to the fields. It's early spring, the planting season. The field is a vast stretch of sodden earth, divided into narrow strips. Each strip belongs to a different household under a system called the open field system. The soil is hard, still frostbitten from winter. Your job is to break it. You hack and hack, blisters forming within an hour. You work beside others and no one speaks. Talking is a luxury. The energy is for labor. A boy beside you vomits from exhaustion and goes right back to digging. You try to keep pace. You fail. Lunch is more gruel, this time with a hint of turnip. You eat it cold. In the afternoon, you're brought into the smithy to carry charcoal. The black dust coats your skin, your mouth, your lungs. The smith doesn't acknowledge you. Sparks fly, the air grows hotter, but the cold never leaves your bones. You learn nothing is ever warm in this age. Not truly. Later, you're allowed to sit. You take a seat on a log, watching as villagers return from their scattered work. The women sort herbs and prepare to dye homespun wool. The men sharpen scythes. A few young boys take turns practicing with wooden spears. Defense is always a concern. Raids are common, and no one is truly safe. The village elder appears in the square, calling for evening prayers. Everyone gathers around the small wooden cross planted in the earth. Latin chants are spoken. Though few understand them, you mimic the gestures, kneeling in mud as others recite the Lord's Prayer. The atmosphere is solemn, fearful. Religion is not comfort, it's survival. After prayers, supper is boiled cabbage and onions. The pot is shared, you eat last. Meat is rare and saved for feast days. Every part of the animal is used. The blood, the fat, even the bones for broth. As night falls, the cold deepens. The livestock are brought indoors. Yes, indoors, into the same space where families sleep. Their body heat is part of the insulation. You lie back on your sack, eyes burning, muscles aching. There is no silence. A baby cries. Someone coughs violently. Flatulence, snoring, animal noises. It's a symphony of discomfort. You itch. The fleas are real. You try to scratch discreetly. You cannot sleep. Instead, you stare at the fire's dying embers. Then the drums sound. Raiders. Screams erupt from the edge of the village. The house elder shouts for everyone to run into the woods. Children scatter. The livestock panic. You follow, grabbing nothing. In the dark woods, people huddle. You hear burning, the sound of axes, men yelling in Old Norse. A baby screams, then silence. The next morning, you return. Half the village is ash. 2 houses still smolder. The elder lies dead in the square, an axe in his chest. The church cross has been taken. You helped bury 3 people before midday, and still life goes on. There's no grief ceremony, no weeping. Everyone simply works because survival is all there is. You do not die on the first day, but you understand, this life is not made for you. Not your skin, your back, your stomach, or your spirit. You survive, but only just. Story 4. You open your eyes to sound. Metal against metal. Harsh shouts. The distant wail of horns. The sunlight pouring through the cracks of a wooden shutter is red with dust. You push yourself upright and find you're in a crude barracks, filled with the rank odor of unwashed bodies and sweat-stiffened wool. You are surrounded by sleeping soldiers, some snoring, others tossing in feverish half-sleep. Armor is scattered across the dirt floor. You're in a Norman military camp. The year is 1066. and the Battle of Hastings is 1 day away. You rise disoriented, but your confusion marks you at once. A man sharpening his sword nearby glares at you. "Get to it," he growls. You scramble to follow the others outside, where the morning is alive with tension. Tents flap in the wind. In pissant trenches, a priest chants blessings in Latin, while squires distribute stale bread and dried meat. The camp smells of rust, tallow, and anticipation. The men around you are not knights in gleaming armor, but rough, brutal mercenaries and hardened foot soldiers. Their chainmail is patchy, their weapons reused, bent, notched. No one speaks of glory. They speak of pay, plunder, and the fear of death. A nobleman on horseback barks orders. You're handed a spear. Long, crooked, the wood splintered near the base. You try to explain that you're no soldier, but your voice is ignored. You're shoved into a formation with other levy footmen. A lad beside you can't be more than 15. His eyes are wide with terror. He clutches a shield almost bigger than himself. You're drilled in tight ranks, taught how to hold your weapon, when to brace, when to stab. Your arms tremble from the weight. The commander scoffs and moves on. That afternoon, a scout returns with news. The Anglo-Saxons are on the march. You're told you'll move out before dawn. The meal that evening is nothing but gruel, boiled with scraps of onion and bone. You sit beside the fire trying not to think. Around you, men sharpen blades, whisper prayers, or drink themselves into numbness. Someone sings a low, grim tune about Saint Cuthbert watching over the bones of fallen soldiers. Sleep is impossible. You lie on a bed of flattened grass, your armor digging into your back, the spear beside you like a cold shadow. Rats scurry nearby, and one of the men nearby moans in his sleep. You turn over, only to find a man already dead beside you. Stiff, his eyes open, blood from his nose. No one notices, no one cares. When dawn comes, the world is grey and cold. Fog clings to the earth. You're marched towards Senlac Hill. Your formation stiff and awkward. As the sun rises, you see them. Ranks of Anglo-Saxon housecarls behind wooden shields. Unmoving, silent. The earth trembles with the footsteps of war. The trumpet blares. The charge begins. The Norman knights surge forward, hoofs pounding. Arrows rain down. Sharp, black-feathered darts that whistle before they strike. One lands inches from your foot. Another buries itself in the chest of the boy beside you. He doesn't scream. He simply falls. You advance. The noise is deafening, screams, metal, the wet sound of blade through flesh. You don't fight like in the movies. You stab and pray. Your spear glances off a shield. A man swings at your head. You duck barely. Your foot catches a root. You fall. You try to rise. A body lands on top of you. Blood covers your hands. Yours or his, you don't know. A boot crushes your wrist. You scream. A sword flashes down. Everything goes black. When you wake, it's evening. The battlefield is a field of corpses. The living strip the dead. Crow's feast. You are somehow alive, but wounded. Your leg twisted beneath you, bleeding freely. You crawl. Each movement is fire. You find a discarded wineskin and drink, not caring that it's half spilled with dirt. A woman moves among the bodies, a scavenger. She eyes you. Instead of helping, she pulls your belt pouch from your waist and vanishes into the mist. You're left alone. In the darkness, infection begins. You grow colder. You hallucinate banners, hear drums that are no longer there. By morning, you are still, face down in the blood-soaked earth. Your name forgotten. Your body unburied. Your time over. Story 5. You awaken in total darkness. For a moment, you panic. Your arms flail against cold stone. Your breath ragged. You're not in your bed. You're not even in your own time. The air is thick and stale, pungent with the acrid scent of mold and bodily waste. Somewhere nearby, water drips slowly, rhythmically, like the ticking of some forgotten clock. You sit up and realize you're underground, beneath stone, inside what seems to be a monastery's storage cellar. But you're not alone. Someone coughs in the darkness. A thin cough, dry and weak. You hear the shuffling of bare feet, the clink of a chain. The dim light of a lantern begins to glow from the top of a narrow stairwell. A hooded figure descends. Monastic robes, roughly stitched, worn thin at the edges. A Benedictine monk. He sees you and gestures without words. You follow. Above ground, the wind cuts across an open courtyard surrounded by towering stone walls. You squint into the pale morning light. Around you, the abbey comes to life. Bells toll in a somber pattern, signaling prime, the first hour of prayer. Monks move in silence, their faces gaunt, their robes threadbare. Their heads are shaved in the tonsure style, hair like horseshoes framing scalps pink with cold. You realize you're in Anglo-Saxon England around the year 990. This monastery is not a place of sanctuary for you. You're an outsider, a stranger, dressed wrong, speaking oddly. The monk eyes your shoes suspiciously. They're too soft, too clean. You quickly find yourself surrounded by quiet judgment. The prior arrives. He is a stern man, skeletal and severe. He looks you over. You came to work, he says simply. You will help in the scriptorium. You nod before you understand. Inside, the scriptorium is frigid and dimly lit by narrow stained glass windows, rows of desks, parchment rolls, quills made from swan feathers. The smell of vellum, ink, candle wax. A monk demonstrates how to mix pigments, grinding minerals by hand, combining with egg whites and wine. He dips a quill, careful not to smudge the delicate lines of a Latin script. You're given a dull knife to scrape mistakes, a sponge to dab excess ink, and are warned sternly. Each error is an offense to the word of God. You're placed at a desk with a Psalter manuscript. Your hands shake from cold and anxiety. The Latin makes no sense, and your attempts at copying it are crude. One wrong stroke, and you cut through the parchment. The monk beside you notices, raises an eyebrow, and without a word, switches your assignment. Stoking the fire and boiling glue. The glue pot is a nauseating stew of boiled animal parts. Hooves, hide, bones. The fumes sting your nose. You gag, earning disapproving looks. You're clearly not from here. At Sext, midday prayers are called. You follow into the church, where Gregorian chants echo beneath the arches. The walls are adorned with faded frescoes. The atmosphere is both beautiful and oppressive. You kneel on the cold stone floor. A monk beside you mutters his devotion. You can't understand the words. You fake the signs of the cross. You hope it's enough. After prayers, you're allowed to eat. The meal is meager. Bread so hard it could break teeth. A thin ale. A spoonful of bean pottage. Silence is mandatory. One monk reads aloud from the Rule of Saint Benedict, describing the punishments for disobedience. Lashes, isolation, fasting. You chew slowly, eyes downcast, stomach still hollow. The day continues with labor. You're ordered to the garden, where winter has turned the soil to iron. You're handed a hoe and told to dig. Your modern muscles, untrained for such tasks, protest within minutes. Blisters form on your palms. Your breath comes in wheezing gasps. As the sun dips low, Vespers is called. Bells echo across the hills. The wind carries the howls of wolves. Yes, wolves, who still roam the woods at the edge of civilization. The gates of the abbey are locked. You are safe. For now, back in the dormitory, monks settle into wooden bunks arranged in rows. There are no mattresses, just planks and thin wool blankets. A candle is extinguished. Silence falls. But you can't sleep. The cold is relentless. You itch from the fleas in the blankets. Your hands ache from blisters. Your stomach twists from hunger. And then the coughing begins. From across the room, a monk wheezes violently. Others begin to cough too. You remember what this is? Illness spreads fast in monasteries. Respiratory infections, consumption, fever. There is no medicine, only prayer and isolation. The prior enters. He orders the sick moved to the infirmary, a stone room colder than death. You are told to help carry the worst one, a young monk, no older than 20, burning with fever. His eyes roll back as you lift him. His breath is labored, his body limp. You lay him on a straw mattress beside others. The smell is terrible, pus, rot, and fear. You're told not to speak to them. You're told to pray for them. When you leave, you realize you're sweating. Later that night, you wake in a cold sweat. Your throat is raw. Your head throbs. A rash blooms on your chest. You try to rise, but your legs give out. Fever has come. A monk finds you. You're dragged to the infirmary, placed beside the others. There's no comfort, just straw, a wooden cross nailed above you, and the smell of death. The monk anoints you with oil. God's will be done, he says. By matins, when the next prayers begin at midnight, you've stopped breathing. The others don't notice. They keep chanting. Story 6. You come to on the hard floor of a hut, gasping for air that feels heavier than it should. It smells like rot, smoke, and unwashed humanity. You sit up too fast, your back screaming from the unforgiving surface. The light streaming through the doorway is faint, but enough to reveal a crude wooden interior. Low beams, dirt walls reinforced with dung and straw, a ceiling patched with moss. Someone is chanting outside. You crawl out and into chaos. The sky is choked with ash-gray clouds. Bells ring furiously from a distant tower. Villagers scurry like frightened animals, their faces drawn and pale. Some are crying, others carrying bundles of clothing and food toward the woods. A man pushes past you, mumbling prayers. The Black Death is upon us, he whispers. You freeze. You're in a rural village in northern France, sometime around 1348. You remember just enough from books and documentaries to know what this means. But those stories never conveyed the smell, the fear, the absolute absence of control. The church bells signal not a wedding, nor a funeral, but mass death. You turn and find yourself face to face with a cart piled with bodies. Limbs stick out in strange directions, some covered in boils, others twisted in agony. A child's psalm hangs limply over the side. A man guides the mule pulling it, his eyes glassy and sunken. He does not speak. He only moves. Someone grabs your arm. It's an old woman with swollen joints and eyes milky with cataracts. You're not from here, she hisses. You came with the wind. Are you the carrier? She screams suddenly, backing away. Her cries draw attention. People turn, eyes wide. Panic grows like a tide. You try to explain, but nothing you say makes sense to them. Your clothes are odd, your words too smooth. They begin to surround you. A priest arrives holding a cross high. The devil walks among us, he shouts. He sent this plague, this stranger. They accuse you of sorcery, of sin, of causing the pestilence. You're dragged by force to the center of the village. There's no court, no defense, just fear and rage. You are thrown into a pig pen while they decide what to do. Mud coats your hands and face. The pigs snort and root near your legs. A boy throws a stone at your head. Kill the bringer, someone yells. From the pen, you watch the rituals of desperation. Bonfires burn herbs in the corners of the square. A group of flagellants arrives from the nearby town, beating themselves bloody in the streets to beg for God's mercy. You see men and women collapse from exhaustion, from hunger, from grief. A mother rocks a lifeless baby. Rats scurry over corpses. You try to clean yourself at a nearby stream that evening. The water is brown with runoff. A man comes limping down from the hills, his face blotched with dark pustules. He collapses by the water, coughing blood. You stare in horror. You've read about it. Now you see it. The bubonic plague. You back away too late. By morning, you are sweating, shivering. Your lymph nodes ache. A boil has begun to form on your thigh. You know what's happening. You beg for help, but no one comes close. You're thrown scraps of bread like an animal. Your skin begins to turn black beneath the boil. The pain is unimaginable. Your heart races, then slows. You vomit blood. The priest returns. He does not offer medicine. There is none. He offers prayer, forgiveness, and last rites. You nod, unable to speak. You realize, in your final moments, that the only escape in this world is death. And so, before a single day has passed, you slip into darkness. You didn't last 24 hours. Story 7. You emerge from a wooden door barely 4 feet high, blinking against the morning light that filters between towering, leaning buildings. You're in a medieval city, perhaps York, Rouen, or even Cologne, around the year 1254. The street is narrow and choked with refuse. The air smells of human waste, spoiled food, wood smoke, and tanned leather. You take a step forward and immediately slip in something unspeakable. Your hands land on cobblestones slick with centuries of grime. You are barefoot. That was your first mistake. As you stand, people push past you. Merchants setting up stalls. Women dumping chamber pots from upper windows. No warning. No shame. A splash lands close enough that the stink catches your throat. You gag. A group of boys laugh at you before running off with a stray dog. The noise is endless. Metal on metal from the smithy. Bakers shouting prices. The ring of a town crier's bell. Somewhere a beggar wails. You're jostled constantly by butchers, carts, apprentices hauling buckets of river water. No one says excuse me. Everyone is in a rush. No one notices you don't belong. You realize quickly this is no place of freedom. Every inch of the city is controlled by guilds, lords, and clerics. You wander into the market square, an open space lined with stalls selling bread, cheese, salt fish, wool. Everything is taxed. Everything is watched. A man is being beaten near the stocks for selling stolen meat. Blood runs down his face. A priest blesses him between lashes. The crowd watches with indifference. You reach for a piece of bread on a cart, intending only to look. The baker's wife slaps your hand and yells something sharp in a language you don't quite understand. You apologize, but your accent marks you instantly. Foreign. Suspicious. You keep moving. You pass a tannery. You regret it instantly. The stench is unbearable. Hides soaked in urine and lye, then scraped and stretched. Flies swarm thick. A boy with burns on his arms stirs a vat with a stick. His eyes are dead. Further down, you reach the river. It's a lifeline and a latrine. Raw sewage floats past dead fish and animal guts. Women wash laundry in the same current. A girl drinks from a bucket she filled just downstream. You're told to find work if you want to stay. You're directed to a cooper. He makes barrels, essential for wine and ale. He takes one look at your soft hands and laughs. You'll last an hour, he says, but he lets you try. The tools are primitive. The wood is green and stubborn, the iron hoops heavy. You sweat, bleed, and fail. The cooper sends you away before you ruin anything valuable. Next, you try a scribe's shop, where a gaunt man repairs torn manuscripts. He speaks Latin. You do not. He asks you to sharpen a quill. You cut your thumb. He shakes his head and turns away. Desperate, you join a group of apprentices hauling stones to a church construction site. The stones are massive. Your back screams. You're given a leather strap to help lift. It cuts into your palms. Dust fills your lungs. After 2 trips, you collapse. A foreman shouts at you, then kicks you aside. You lie there, covered in mud, humiliated, when you hear a cry. Thief! A crowd rushes past. A boy is dragged by his collar, screaming he's innocent. He's young, maybe 10. They don't care. They tie him to a post. A magistrate reads from a parchment. The word gallows is spoken. You watch as the boy is marched away. You ask what he stole. An egg, someone says. At dusk, the bells ring for vespers. The city slows. People retreat to their homes. Wooden buildings stacked so tightly that upper floors nearly touch. You wander, looking for shelter. None is offered. You don't belong to a guild, to a church, or a family. You're no one. Eventually, you find a shed behind a tavern. You slip inside and curl up beside barrels of spoiled ale. Rats scurry across your legs. You try to sleep, but your stomach growls. Your joints ache. Your head throbs. The day's filth clings to your skin. In the dark, you hear a woman crying, a man groaning, a baby coughing. You hear a fight break out nearby, then silence. The next morning, the door bursts open. Out! The tavern keeper shouts, "Thieves sleep here." You're chased into the street. The day begins again. You haven't died yet, but you've barely survived. And every hour, you feel it more deeply. You don't belong here. Story 8. You open your eyes to the scent of vinegar and candle wax. The room is dim, sunlight filtered through parchment-covered windows. A woman in a white robe passes near you, murmuring a prayer in Latin. You sit up slowly and find yourself lying on a hard wooden platform, covered by a thin woolen sheet. Your neck aches, your mouth is dry. You're in a xenodochium, a Christian hospital, and the year is 810 AD. Charlemagne's empire stretches across much of Western Europe, and you've been placed under the care of monks at a monastic complex near Aachen. The abbey is vast, surrounded by stone walls and cloisters, and the hospital is run by the Benedictines. But this is no hospital in the modern sense. There is no anesthesia, no antiseptic, no scientific training. Here, medicine is charity, prayer, and blind faith. You are not here for treatment. You're here as a helper, a guest turned servant. You are led by a novice through a narrow hallway lined with groaning bodies. Some are coughing violently, others lie silent, pale and unmoving. A man stares at the ceiling, mouth open, flies dancing on his lips. No one shoos them away. Your first task is to empty the chamber pots. The stench is overwhelming. You carry them down a corridor that leads outside, dumping their contents into a designated trench. The waste runs through a shallow channel and toward the edge of the monastery grounds. You notice the stream beside it, the same one where laundry is done and where water is drawn for broth. Returning, you help clean wounds with cloth soaked in wine and vinegar. One patient has a gash on his thigh from a plowing accident, filthy, swollen, dark around the edges. The monk beside you murmurs a psalm as he pours honey into it. God made the bees wise, he says. You assist in preparing a poultice made from garlic, onion, and bile. It's meant to treat eye infections. You try not to vomit. The monks take detailed notes in Latin, not of success or failure, but of signs from God and the patient's confessions. At midday, the bell rings for none. Prayer halts all work. Everyone, sick or healthy, is expected to participate. You kneel in a cold stone chapel, flanked by moaning invalids and coughing elders. The prior leads chants in a droning voice. You try to follow, but the words are foreign. You fake it. The monk beside you notices but says nothing. He only tightens his lips. After prayer, you help serve the midday meal. The patients are given a broth of leeks, herbs, and fish bones. The monks eat better. Lentils, dark bread, watered wine. You are given only what's left. Hunger scratches at your belly. In the herb garden, you help gather yarrow, sage, and wormwood. The apothecary, a bearded monk with fingers stained green, shows you how to grind them with mortar and pestle. He explains that sickness comes from imbalanced humors, bile, phlegm, blood, and black bile. If one is in excess, the body fails. Bleeding is often prescribed. You assist with one such procedure. A man is brought in, feverish, sweating. His tongue is black. The apothecary slices his arm open with a bronze lancet. Blood pours into a bowl. You hold the patient down as he writhes. The bleeding lasts too long. He does not wake again. The monks wash his body with vinegar. They chant over it, prepare it for burial. You are made to help dig the grave in a cemetery behind the chapel. The soil is hard, the wind cold. You can smell the other graves beneath. As twilight falls, you are sent to the library, a cold, quiet place where you're told to copy a herbal manual. You don't know Latin, but they make you trace the shapes. It's tedious, slow, nerve-wracking. One mistake ruins a page. Your ink smudges. You are struck on the knuckles with a rod. That night, you're allowed to sleep in the infirmary itself. You lie on the floor with a thin blanket. Around you, patients groan and pray. A child coughs blood into a rag. Someone dies quietly in the corner. The wind whistles through the cracks in the stone. You're exhausted, filthy, hungry, terrified of touching your face with your hands. And yet, the day repeats. In the Dark Ages, this was hope. This was mercy. You survived the first day, but you no longer ask yourself if you could stay here. You ask how anyone ever did. Story 9. You wake to the sound of clanging iron. Someone pounding a bell to summon laborers. The room is narrow, the ceiling low, the straw on the ground reeking of mildew and urine. You stand slowly, every joint stiff, your hands already aching from yesterday. A rough tunic hangs on a nail by the wall, caked with old sweat and soil. You pull it over your head and step into wooden clogs, worn smooth by hundreds of steps on stone and mud. You're a bonded serf on a noble's estate, somewhere in Normandy around the year 1082. You belong not by choice, but by law and blood, to the land of Lord Geoffroy. The land owns you and he owns the land. You do not have rights. You have duties. Every hour of your day is spoken for before you even rise. Outside, the manor estate stretches in tiers. High stone walls protect the central hall where the noble's family lives. Surrounded by fields, granaries, stables, and rows of huts like yours. You join a cluster of men and women already gathering tools. There's no breakfast, only a gulp of watered ale and half a crust of rye bread you saved from the night before. Your task today is to repair a section of the palisade fence after last week's storm. It was torn by wind, and wild boars have since breached it, destroying several vegetable plots. The steward, a man of middle rank who serves the Lord but lives among the peasants, barks orders. You respond with deference, head low, hands raised in submission. If you're seen as lazy, your family's grain allotment is docked. If you protest, you're whipped. You work with split logs and heavy mallets, no gloves, no protective gear. Your palms blister, then bleed. The sun rises higher, the sweat mixes with dirt until your skin is stained gray. You hear the bell from the manor tower. It stirs, mid-morning prayers. You stop working to bow your head, not from faith, but because not doing so might be considered disrespect. Later, you're sent to muck out the stable. The stable is a mess of half-rotted straw and dung. A massive draft horse shifts as you approach, eyeing you suspiciously. These animals are expensive, more valuable than you, more valuable than the average peasant household. You clean carefully. One wrong move and you're trampled. One mistake and you're accused of sabotage. While dumping the wheelbarrow, you pass the manor kitchens. The smell nearly brings you to tears. Roasted fowl, herbs, onions, cooked in fat. But none of it is for you. That food is for the Lord, his family, and guests. You catch a glance through the window. Tapestries, silver cutlery, cushioned chairs, and goblets brimming with wine. You return to the fields. You harvest winter turnips from a section of the domain, the Lord's private land. Everything you pick he keeps. You're allowed a portion of a shared plot for your own family, but only if you complete all required tasks on the Lord's land first. There's barely time. By sundown, you'll be too exhausted to work your own field. You hear the shouting before you see the cause. Two serfs are fighting, brothers maybe, over a yoke for a plow. The steward arrives quickly, followed by the bailiff. Punishment is swift. One is taken to the stocks, the other flogged in front of everyone. No trial, no questioning, just authority. You keep your head down, you don't speak. In the evening, you return to your hut. Your wife greets you with a tired smile. Your children are already asleep, curled under thin blankets. She hands you a bowl of boiled millet and cabbage. It tastes like earth and salt. You eat in silence. There is no candle. Wax is expensive. You sit in the dark, listening to the wind rattle the shutters. Somewhere in the distance a wolf howls. You pray silently that the animals are penned in tight. If a sheep is lost, the fine will fall on the entire village. Tomorrow, you've been assigned to the mill. The miller is a greedy man who takes more than his due. The Lord knows, but does nothing. He takes a portion too. You'll carry sacks of grain on your back up narrow stairs. If you slip, the loss is on you. Even if the wind falters and the grain spoils, you'll still owe rent. You don't sleep easily. You think about your son. He's strong. But if the Lord calls on him for service, he may be pressed into a levy to fight in some border feud. You think about your wife's cough. If it worsens, there's no medicine, only prayer and burial. You haven't died today, but death feels close. It always does here, not just from illness or war, but from the crushing weight of being nothing more than labor. Story 10. You awaken in a canopy bed, layered with furs, in a chamber walled in stone and hung with embroidered tapestries. The faint light of dawn creeps in through a narrow arrow slit, and you feel the bite of the cold before your eyes even open. There is no glass in the window, only an oiled cloth drawn tight. A servant is already in the room, her back turned, preparing a basin of frigid water. You are not alone. You never are. You're a noblewoman in the year 1155, born into a powerful family in the Norman heartlands. But your life is not one of leisure. It is a life of rituals, obligation, and quiet suffering. You sit up, and the servant helps you into your undergown, then laces your kirtle tight. Layers upon layers follow. Linen, wool, fur-lined surcoat. Beauty must be maintained even in the cold. You're led to the chapel. Prayers begin the day. You kneel on stone, back straight, hands clasped. The priest recites in Latin. You mouth the words. You have memorized the rhythm, but not the meaning. Your mind drifts. Today, a noble suitor is visiting. A baron from the southern coast, old enough to be your father. The arrangement has been discussed for weeks. No one asked what you wanted. After prayers, you're taken to the solar, a room where women of the household spin, mend, and oversee domestic matters. Embroidery stretches before you, scenes of St. George vines curling around lions. Your fingers bleed where the needle slips. Your governess watches without sympathy. A noblewoman's hands must be graceful. Scarless, the cook sends a message. You must help inspect the stores. The pantry is stocked with salted fish, dried beans, hard cheese wrapped in cloth. You are taught how to record these in a ledger, not for your benefit, but so that one day as a wife, you'll run another house. All of this is training. Your entire life is preparation for someone else's. As you return to your chamber, you pass through the courtyard. A servant boy is being whipped, caught sneaking bread. His screams echo between the walls. You look away, though your stomach clenches. Mercy is not yours to give. You're not allowed power, only example. Midday arrives, and you are presented to your suitor. He is tall, armored, with hands that bear no trace of labor. He looks you over as if inspecting a horse. You are told to play the lute for him. Your fingers shake. The song stumbles. Your father frowns. The suitor grins. He says he likes your shyness. You smile, trained to. Later, your mother sits with you in private. She applies rose oil to your wrists and combs your hair with long strokes. She says nothing of love, only of duty. A good marriage brings peace between houses, she says. He will not beat you if you bear sons quickly. She says it as if she's promising you spring. The suitor stays for the feast. It is lavish. Roasted quail, pheasant, stewed pears, honeyed bread. Minstrels sing, jesters dance, but you eat little. Your corset is too tight and your stomach too knotted. The suitor drinks heavily. He boasts. He laughs loudly. Your father laughs louder. In the quiet afterward, you sneak to the castle garden. You find the bench beneath the yew tree and sit alone. For a moment, there is only the wind and the smell of crushed rosemary beneath your feet. The moon is high. The frost is forming. You think of the books in the library, pay. Latin texts you are forbidden to read. You think of the herbal woman who once told you the names of every flower that could poison a man. You think of the girl from the village who vanished after being called to serve in the manor. Then the bell tolls. A servant finds you. You're not allowed to linger alone. That night, in your chamber, a maid whispers that the betrothal has been agreed. The baron will return in a fortnight. A wedding will be held before spring. You do not scream. You do not weep. You are a noble, trained not to feel. But as you lie beneath heavy furs, staring at the stone ceiling, you understand. Your life is not your own, not even your body. You're fed, clothed, protected. And still, this too is a prison. Story 11. Your eyes open before the town bell rings. The workshop is cold and smells of wax, soot, and damp wool. You slept on a straw mat beside a stack of timber planks, your back curved into the shape of the floor. There's no pillow, just a folded apron, and no blanket, save for your own cloak. You rise quickly. If the master sees you idle after sunrise, the consequences are immediate. You're an apprentice to a candle maker in a city governed by guilds, sometime in the early 1300s. It's a privilege, they told you, a place of promise. But already your hands are blistered from lye burns, your eyes stung from weeks of smoke, and you've begun to wonder what privilege really means. Your first task is to stoke the fire. You scrape ashes from the previous day, coughing as the dust clouds your face. A barrel of tallow waits nearby, thick, lumpy fat rendered from pigs and cattle. The smell is rancid. You learned on your first day not to retch aloud. You melt the fat slowly, stirring with a long iron spoon. The fire must stay low, steady. Too hot and the fat scorches, too cold and it curdles. The master's wife arrives to inspect the waxes. She's as exacting as her husband and meaner with her tongue. She finds a blemish on one of yesterday's tapers and slaps your shoulder. Foolish boy, she spits. The bishop wants perfect candles. The bishop, he's one of the most powerful men in town. The church is the workshop's best client. Candles for mass, for vigils, for the monastery, for funerals and saints' days. A single imperfection is an insult to God. You nod and return to the cauldron, swallowing your shame. Later, you carry trays of freshly dipped candles to the racks to dry. Your arms ache. The wood is splintered. You trip on a loose stone and nearly drop a row. The journeyman beside you, a man barely older, but with years more authority, grabs your collar and growls in your ear. One mistake, and he'll have your ears boxed. You try to ignore the pain in your back. You haven't eaten yet. The bell rings for sext, midday. You're given half an hour to eat. The meal is a crust of rye bread, a piece of aged cheese, and a cup of weak ale. You eat in the alley behind the shop with the other apprentices from nearby trades. Cobblers, coopers, tanners. Everyone smells. Everyone is tired. A fight nearly breaks out between two over who stole a piece of dried apple. Back to work. You assist with pouring beeswax for the high orders. Nobles who demand finer product, cleaner burn. Beeswax is rare, expensive. It must not be wasted. You watch the master himself handle the molds, muttering prayers under his breath. Even wax has spirits in it, he tells you. Mishandle it and you invite curses. In the afternoon, a guild official visits the shop. He inspects the inventory, measures the wicks. He warns the master that another violation, last week's candle that smoked too much, will result in a fine, or worse, a temporary ban from market. The master's face turns grey. He dismisses the journeyman to speak privately. You keep your head down and continue dipping. That evening, you sweep the floor, scrub the tables, and empty the ashes again. Your hands shake from the cold water. There is no soap, only sand and cloth. You wash your face with rainwater collected in a barrel. Your fingernails are black with soot. Dinner is a thin stew. Turnips, lentils, maybe a bone boiled twice. You eat it without tasting. You overhear that the master's daughter is to be wed soon to a leather worker's son. You think of her and the times you've met her gaze. It means nothing. You are beneath her. Before bed, you tend to the bees kept in hives at the rear courtyard. Bees are sacred here. The wax is gold. You check the hives for weakness, scrape away dead drones. One stings you on the neck. You do not cry out. The night is cold. You lay back down beside the planks, pull your cloak tight, and close your eyes. But sleep doesn't come easily. You think of the years ahead. 7 more years of this before you might become a journeyman. And then only if you pay the guild fee. Only if the master recommends you. Only if disease, fire, or accident doesn't take your life first. You survive the day. But you wonder, with growing certainty, will you survive the year?